So I saw this comment and it got me thinking. Do people understand that Super Bowls are a team accomplishment? Like, you can play objectively bad as the starting quarterback and still win a ring, and you can also play some of the best football of your career and still lose the Super Bowl, or even just lose in the playoffs and not even make the Super Bowl. Tom Brady's a prime example of this. 2018, he beat the Rams in the Super Bowl, scoring 13 points. His defense stifled the LA Rams, who had one of the best offenses in the NFL, held them to 3 points all day. And their defense also did pretty well against the Patriots, and yet the Patriots did just enough to win. You'll won a Super Bowl with 13 points. That's not really a offensive shootout, if you will. Did just enough to win. They could have scored 6 points and still won the game. But the year before, Tom Brady lost to the Super Bowl while throwing for 505 passing yards and 3 passing touchdowns. One of the best individual performances in a Super Bowl ever, and lost. That just goes to show that it is a team effort, and you can play the best football of your career and still lose. It's kind of the human element at play. Peyton Manning, a prime example of a quarterback who historically is one of the best regular season quarterbacks of all time. 5-time MVP. And yet, only won 2 Super Bowls in his career. Lamar Jackson's a 2-time NFL MVP at 27 years old. And at 27 years old, him and Peyton Manning both have a career playoff record of 2-4. Peyton Manning never won a ring until he was 30 years old. But, using the commenter's logic here, Peyton Manning at 27 years old, he's never going to win a Super Bowl. Never, ever. Because he hasn't won one before, and he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. So if he didn't win one before, he's never going to win one in the future. You don't know at all what's going to happen in the playoffs. So in 2006, 4 games, Peyton Manning had 1,000 passing yards, 3 passing touchdowns, and a whopping 7 interceptions. And yet, the Colts won the Super Bowl. Because the team as a whole had a common goal and succeeded in that goal, regardless of the quarterback playing. I'm just saying, if you're going to throw 7 interceptions, you better hope to God your team comes through and helps you out. And they did. One of the worst playoff runs ever by a quarterback, and yet came out on top. Because that's just what happens. A couple years before, in 2003, Peyton Manning had 9 touchdowns in 3 games, and yet lost in the playoffs. So objectively playing very good football, and yet wasn't good enough. Because it's a team game. Troy Aikman has 3 Super Bowl rings, and yet he's not really known for being the guy or the reason why they won 3 Super Bowls. The Cowboys were just known as a super team. A lot of people believe that you could put almost any quarterback on that Dallas team and they still win multiple Super Bowls. Because it's a team game. And finally, here's every active quarterback with a Super Bowl ring. Notice how Patrick Mahomes is the only one of the new generation to have a ring, multiple rings, in fact. So, by using the comments logic of Lamar Jackson's never going to win a Super Bowl, I'm assuming Josh Allen's never going to win one either. Joe Burrow had a chance to win one and he lost, on a Cinderella run, a whopping 10-17. Jalen Hurts, he's never going to win a ring. He missed his chance, with a super team. They were the best team in the NFL by far, and yet the inferior team still won the Super Bowl at the end of the day in the Kansas City Chiefs. Jalen Hurts objectively played really good football, and yet still lost. Joe Flacco, active quarterback with a Super Bowl ring, and guess what? His playoff run was one of the most dominant playoff runs of all time. 11 touchdowns, 0 interceptions in 4 games. The Baltimore Ravens in 2012 were not the best team in the NFL. That was the Denver Broncos, who they beat in the playoffs. It just goes to show that you don't know and you really cannot predict what is going to happen for a player's career or their chances of getting a Super Bowl ring. As long as players like Lamar and Josh Allen and Joe Burrow play high-level football, they will have consistent playoff appearances, which means more chances to get hot at the right time and win a ring. They're 27 years old. Joe Burrow, I think, is 28, something like that. They have plenty of time. And just this disingenuous thought process of this player is never going to win a Super Bowl because they haven't won one in the past is just really lazy. Because even the best quarterbacks in NFL history, some of them only have one Super Bowl ring in their entire career. Dan Marino doesn't even have any. But historically, they're still really good football players. So appreciate the greatness while you have it. And if they win a ring, that's great. If they don't, Lamar's still a Hall of Famer. Josh Allen's most likely still a Hall of Famer. Joe Burrow's on his way up there too. At the end of the day, it's a team game, you know. So attributing a ring to an individual player is just very disingenuous to the scope of the NFL.